One of the arguments that's been put consistently over the years is there are lots and lots of brownfield sites, lots and lots of empty MOD buildings, that actually there are lots of places in urban areas where we could build. The other argument that's been put to me is that London actually has some of the lowest density housing in terms of, we tend to have two-storey houses in the suburbs and not bigger. And that actually, do we need to build on our green and pleasant land? Couldn't our cities cope with more people?
I think we should absolutely put more people in our cities. And in fact, if you look at London, about half of London is just one or two stories. London is not a particularly dense city by international standards. We should liberalise the planning specifically in London and put a lot more housing into London and do that with local community consent and local control. I agree with you 100%, but that's not what these rebels are proposing. They're not saying, let's put forward an amendment to build lots of housing in London.
They're just saying no.
They're just saying, and I spoke to a town planner this evening, and they said there's only two things that actually encourage local councils to build houses. It's the targets and it's the presumption in favour of sustainable development. Those are the two things that they're getting rid of. Now, according to some estimates, that could mean 80,000 fewer houses a year. Now, we need way more houses each year. We don't need less and less. So we need to be able to fix this problem. We can't just rush in with these solutions. Now, the practical effect here, I think, of this, though, is going to be it's really going to hurt the small to medium-sized house builders. Now, the big house builders, they have permissions, they have land, they have lobbyists, they can deal with that. But we're going into a recession right now, and those smaller house builders are going to really struggle to get the kind of permissions to be involved in the housing market.
Matthew Lesh, you free market think tank obviously hate the idea of Soviet style, as you describe them, central planning targets being imposed upon local democracy. And that point is rather important. But if we leave it to local councils, even if we incentivise local councils, the chances are those houses won't get built. So what do we do?
Look, I think there's a whole lot of interesting solutions to these things to flip around the incentives to ensure local community gets a lot more benefits. If there's a house being built in your area, maybe there's a bigger investment in the hospitals and the schools and the roads. Giving people votes on their streets to be able to decide the kind of level of density could have a particularly big impact, particularly in cities. There's a whole bunch of different reforms the government could do to enable councils to get the uplift in benefit if there is local land sales. There are very innovative, creative ideas to try to fix this problem, which is fair and reasonable. If you as a local homeowner, you have no particular incentive to want more people in your community, and that's something that's completely rational for you to oppose more house building. I do, though, at the same time, we have to remember, if the Conservative Party is going to sustain itself in the future, people have to have something to conserve. If people don't have access to home ownership, you're really going to lose a lot of the young people. I looked at a recent poll that said amongst 18 to 24-year-olds, just 5% of people would vote Conservative. Now, that is extinction level event for the Conservative Party. And I think young people have a right to be frustrated if they can't get on the housing ladder.